I am excellent every day.
Excellent.
I'm
That's good.
excellent. That's above good and okay.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've been promising that we were going to have a new co-host here shortly, and she is in the building. We're going to introduce her very shortly. How are you doing?
I am excellent every day.
Excellent.
I'm
That's good.
excellent. That's above good and okay.
That's good. As long as you're above decent,
Yeah.
that's always good. So let's introduce you. So, do you want to introduce yourself? Do you want me to come up with a long introduction? What do you want me to
That's not needed. Okay,
do?
so I'm Tanya D. I am the creator and host of Urban Sweet Talk podcast. Um, I started in podcasting. Well, it wasn't really podcasting then. When I first started my show, it was 2013, and that was more or less like an internet radio.
Okay.
So it's very interactive. And then, right when the podcasting world started taking off, I jumped on the board, and here I am.
There you go. And so I'm really excited about you joining this podcast and what is going to come. I've been promising changes to everyone, and I want everyone to stick with us as we kind of find our groove and find the new direction of the podcast together. You guys are going to see some changes right away, of course, obviously, but we're really refocusing this show. And so um, in joining the show as the new as my new co-host, like, what are some of the things that you hope to achieve, some of the things you hope to like bring to the table, all that good stuff, so the listeners can kind of get familiar with you.
Well, for me, I'm very transparent. I know a lot of people say that, but I'm honest to a fault most times, and sometimes to my own detriment, but so be it. Um, I'm a pretty fair person, so I'm not really one side or the other. I straddle the fence a lot of times, but that's only because I can zoom out and see big pictures and fun. And I say things and I cuss sometimes.
We all do. We all do. So this is a safe space. Curse to your heart's content. Um,
Don't tell me
I'm,
that.
I
Tell me
try
to
not
keep it
to, but that
one.
doesn't mean you don't have to. You do you. Um, so are you like with? I know your podcast dropped today, correct?
Absolutely.
So make sure you guys go and check that out, and that's also going to be a part of the Breaks Media going forward. So it's like it's a joining of families here, and I'm really looking forward to that. And so we'll continue that relationship and building that out. But are you ready to get into the topics? I guess.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. So the first one is Maurice Willoughby, a young man. He committed suicide after being bullied for dating a trans woman. And so this story you would have saw all over social media about a week ago, and it's something that I really wanted to talk about because as we get into the space where we're talking about trans women are women, but yet we're still living in a period where men are being quote unquote exposed for dating trans women or bullied like this, and unfortunately this time it ended up in this man committing suicide. So what was your reaction to like the story at first?
Um, well, at first I didn't really know what was going on because it was a hashtag. So it was hashtag RIP Reese. And I'm like, damn, Reese Witherspoon died. But then I had to figure out what was going on. And it like it's by his, nickname, which is, his name is Maurice. So it's Reese. And when I first heard the story, and it really came with the video of people or guys just standing around kind of heckling him
Mm,
about dating a transgender woman. And I didn't really like from the context of the video, I couldn't really tell if it was like actual bullying or it was
yeah.
very difficult to tell. So I had to do a little digging and reading, which people don't like to do because they take just the headline and kind of run with it. So
Yeah.
when I read the story and the transgender girlfriend was basically saying that he kind of was already suicidal, homicidal, and she left him. And as a result, he committed suicide. Apparently, he was kind of abusive to her. And so it's really hard to kind of take any opinion at face value, especially on social media, because you really have to click on those links and you really have to read for yourself because you'll be completely misguided. So in this case, it was just tragic because clearly he had like some type of mental issues.
Hmm.
But more so because he was violent towards her and himself. And if she had not removed herself, she may have been also a victim.
And that's what, like you said, most people won't know because they read the headline and just go with it. And that's another side of this. Like, we're in a time period where trans women are getting killed daily almost.
Rampantly.
And
Hmm.
so and it sucks. And it's like, even if you don't, let's say you don't agree with the whole transgender lifestyle, whatever, that's your
Right.
on you if you don't. These are still people. And a lot of people lose sight of that and focus just on trying to identify their gender or something that they don't agree with, and they don't get treated like people.
Fair. And I feel like the thing that I personally I struggle with is when, and the alphabet community has come after me plenty times, okay?
Okay.
But I feel like what womanhood is
Hmm.
and a part of being a woman, I don't feel like it's fair that you get to inject hormones and you get to, because a lot of transgender or gay or what have you, they are personifying what womanhood is
Hmm.
by over accentuating. And so in this case, when they feel like, okay, well, inside I feel like I'm a woman, and it's like, I understand that, but saying that you are it is hard for me to take, because you're not cramping every month, you don't have reproductive issues. I just recovered from having fibroids, and for those that don't know, those are basically tumor masses that are in and around the uterus. There are certain problems that transgender women don't have to deal with. So when you say that you're a woman, I take a little offense, because I just don't think it's fair that you get to decide, because I didn't have a choice in being a woman and having a uterus and every other problem that comes with being a woman. And that's not to shame them, because I feel like my quote in life is, do whatever the fuck you want to do, just do that shit over there
Hmm.
and we'll be good. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But attacking them and patronizing them, and it doesn't make sense to me. But when they say they're a woman, it's kind of like, not so much, not so much.
And I think it's important to point out the fact that, like, you take issue with that, but you still aren't against the community, because there's some people who
No,
take those words and run with it as, oh, she's against trans women, and that's not the
absolutely
case.
not.
And it's like, just like people try to broad stroke transgender people try to broad stroke, I hate using the term cisgender people who to have opinions like that, and that's
Mhm.
just as bad in many ways, and people need to come out of that box. So
I think for cisgender men, it's
mm,
different, because they are literally dying because men cannot grapple with their own sexuality.
absolutely.
Women, transgender women aren't dying because people are finding out that they have male genitals or they were born male. They are dying because men cannot holistically accept that they were attracted to a man, essentially.
Hmm.
And so, because of that, and this person, Maurice Willoughby, is a part of that situation too. He openly was saying, yeah, like, I don't have a problem with that. It's still a woman to me. And when I was listening to the video, and so I can completely agree with that. It's just cisgender men, um, just historically have been violent
Yeah.
towards them. And that's really them fighting their desire, whether that's sexually, whatever. They're fighting that desire that they actually have for transgender women.
And what do you think, like, can be done about that as like a culture? I know you can only answer it so much from the perspective of a woman, but like,
Yeah.
seeing the men struggle with it from the outside looking in, like, what would be something that, if someone came to you and said, hey, I'm struggling with this attraction, what would be your advice to them?
Um, I would always, I like to ask people questions, because when you start asking why, you really do get to the bottom of things. Like, you literally just keep asking why, because when you ask, people are going to give you a surface level answer. And you
Absolutely.
keep probing and you're going to get to the bottom of why. And you're going to end up somewhere in their childhood where someone maybe did something inappropriate and they didn't know how they should respond to that because maybe they were aroused but also felt like that shouldn't be happening.
Hmm.
So sometimes those desires or kinks come from really traumatic places. Sometimes not. Sometimes they're just attracted to transgender women. But I would more or less ask them what are they struggling with the attraction? Like, is it that you don't like looking at them? Is it that um, you're attracted, but you've always dated women? And what is it? Because
Yeah.
there has to be this bottom level thing that you're struggling with. There's this underlying thing that you're struggling with. And so I think that would be the best thing. And also for people just to be a little more compassionate. Um, Compassion goes so long. And like my boyfriend, for example, like I went out with my friend and I told her, I'm like, hey, I'm with my dude right now, but I'm on my way to your house. She said, hey, so I just moved, and just to let you know, my roommate is gay. And I was like, oh, you didn't need to have to put out like a PSA.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
he's cool. Like, nothing's gonna happen. But the fact that they have to keep doing that because of their safety, they have to make sure that the cisgender man is okay with their company.
Yeah.
And just the text threw me off because I was like, oh my God, like that's a thing they have to ask. So it's just it's gonna require a lot of work. And I think that for men who men and women who don't understand it or don't respect it, it's just give them a basic respect of a human, and then everything sorts itself out.
Yeah, and I think like and you kind of said it at the beginning of this, like what people do with their free time is their business, and we
Right.
invest so much on it. Like today, there was a NFL player, I forget the name, who came out as bisexual. Like, why do we expect people to announce what they do in their bedroom?
I think people like to put you in a box.
Yeah.
That's really all it is. If and that's what struggles I have with the alphabet community is for a group of people that don't like to be marginalized, a group of people that don't like to be put in a box and labels. You're literally putting yourself in a box and label with the all of the labels that you give yourself. And so what happens over time is society wants to put you in one or the other. Are
Hmm.
you gay or are you straight? Are you this or are you that? So they know how to treat you. And that's really all that is. People just trying to put you in a box so that they know how to treat you.
It's we got to do better, people. That's really what it all comes down to. Is we got to do better at treating each other like people. And I think once you say compassion, it goes, like you said,
Right.
it goes a long way. And once we start focusing on that, we don't always have to agree with everyone's decisions, but there's still a human in front of you. And once you're able to get to that point and show that compassion, everything else becomes so much more simpler. And I'll be transparent here. There was a period in time where I guess I would have been labeled as homophobic. I didn't want gay people around me, any of that. I've grown from that since then because it's like, why, what am
They're
I
all the
worried
way
about?
over there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Minding their business all the way over there. And
So
you will come all the way to where they are just to insult them. And it's like, they're over there. Why does that even have any kind of factor into your life? Like the whole gay marriage thing, it was like, you don't give a damn about the Bible. Stop that. You don't give a damn
yeah.
about, just cut it out. You're using these things to give you reasons to treat somebody poorly, and you're using it wrong if you're doing that.
Yeah.
So they're over there, minding their business, scissoring, do whatever they're doing over there. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, it's none of our business.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's move on to the next topic. I wanted to get the heavy stuff out the way first, so we can get lighter and have a little bit more fun.
Yay.
Yay. Let's. So the next topic is 12% of adults have had sex at work, and I'll put the article that I read that on in the description of the podcast while you guys are listening to this. But what do you just think about that raw number? I honestly I thought it was lower than what I was expecting.
one, I need to know, are those black people or white people? Because I need to get to the bottom of that. Because niggas do not play those kind of games. You know
Because
what
they
I'm
don't want to
saying?
get
They
fired.
have bills due every month. Bills
Exactly.
don't give a damn about your sex life. But that number is, I mean, I guess that's what I would assume, because I feel like, yeah, there are a lot of people who spend a considerable amount of time at their jobs. So they build all of these little strange relationships and, may get a little risque here and there or whatever. Because I mean, I feel like that's a fantasy thing.
Yeah.
I, it's not like, oh, I just need some dick right now and I can't wait. Like, no, I think it's just people trying to live out some weird fantasy and kind of just doing it. I wouldn't, because bills be due. But
Ain't nobody got time to be getting fired. Like that's
not
my
at all. Not
man.
written up,
Mm-mm,
nothing. Some people
mm-mm.
already on their second write up. So,
What do you feel about public in general? Like,
I mean, I think it's fun. I think
yeah.
it's fun when it's tasteful. Trying to fuck in front of everybody is kind of ridiculous to me.
Uh-huh.
But when you can be a little, have a little je ne sais quoi about it, and it's done with taste, and I think that it's fun. It creates memories, and it's sexy. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I think I
What
every
about you?
experience, I'm all for it. My thing is I'm just not at work. That's like
True,
like if you
true,
if you are
true.
have the ability to sneak off and no kids can see you, do what you do. Like
Okay, you're
that's
right.
where I think
You're
my
right.
mental thing is like because if you're like at Six Flags, you know there's gonna be kids to see you. That's just that no.
Word,
So
word. That's why I
um
said, when it's done with a little finesse, some class, a little taste, it's fun. But I
never caught
mean, don't be at fucking Epcot pulling your dick out. Like, that's not
see that gets you put on a list and then you can't get
list.
off
That
the
gets you
list.
put in jail.
That too.
So
So yeah. Yeah.
no. Time and place for everything. Time and place.
Have you ever seen someone publicly? Another couple?
Scene. Outside of the beach, because I'm in Miami and Miami Beach is right there. So I mean, there's a lot of fellatio that happens on the beach from time to time.
That's normal. In
Little ass eating here and there.
wow. Okay. Okay.
No, but they think they're being discreet by putting like a towel over their head. Just stupid shit.
Uh,
But
okay.
again, children are at beaches sometimes. So it really just be classy. Be classy. That's
So yeah,
all.
I mentioned when I feel like it goes too far as when kids can see it. I guess you agree with that as well.
Yeah, because I mean, then kids are seeing, okay, first of all, kids are already pre exposed to sex. Like, I knew what sex was when I was like 5.
Oh wow.
Granted, I didn't do it, but I knew what it was. And so I feel like a lot of kids do, especially now we have the interwebs and it's there. But I also wouldn't just be in front of a child doing inappropriate shit, because one, is traumatizing, and two, you could just end up in jail.
Yeah, and we all realize how traumatizing it was when we like walked in on our parents or heard them. Like, imagine if it's not even your parents. Like, that's traumatizing enough.
Right? Because it's like, ma'am, I'm at Golden Corral. Like, what are you talking about? What are you doing?
Okay, well, I can't say that I've ever experienced that on a trip to Golden Corral, but hey, to each their
People get
own.
frisky. They get full. I don't know.
All right. Well, so the next one is a really good one, and this one actually came from you, and this one is about love languages. Do you want to
Yeah.
present this one for me too?
Sure. So I wanted to have a discussion about love language, because I feel like there's discussions being had about it. I just don't know how genuine it is, right? So the term love language is basically like a communication that you have either with your essence and the way that you are, the way that you think, the way that you feel, the way that you accept love and give love. Um, so everybody is so content on oh, the person has to know my love language and understand my love language. And a lot of that comes from people wanting other people to complete them. And so I wanted to discuss it because, one, I feel like people don't personally know what their love language is. They don't, they only know what love isn't.
Okay.
I feel like you learn first what love isn't,
Mhm.
and then you start to fill in the pieces. So, how are people supposed to know your love language when you don't know your love language?
Yeah. Did you and your boyfriend have a conversation about love languages? Like, have you guys had that conversation?
We haven't, um, but he was my friend for a substantial amount of time, so it was really gradually from a friendship into
Okay.
a relationship. But we did go through a portion of our relationship where, I mean, it wasn't like an infidelity, anything like that, but there was a lot of miscommunication as far as expectations,
Okay.
because we don't always vocalize what we expect. We just telepathically think people should just know what we need and want by being around us. And that's not enough. You know what I mean? Just being around me isn't enough. Yeah, you're around me this amount of time and you may see me do a thing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I do something else,
Hmm.
or I feel a different way, or I'm moody on these days more than others, or whatever the case is. So we never had a conversation about it until we were at each other's throats. You know what I mean?
Okay.
That's when you really start vocalizing what your love language is normally through arguing,
Hmm.
because through an argument, you really find out what people think about you sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true.
And you're like, oh shit, I didn't even know. You thought I was XYZ. And it's only when you like cool down and you're like, okay, so this is what I meant. And and that's when you have the discussion
Yeah.
of the love language. Or I don't like when you speak to me like this. And just today, no, yesterday, me and my boyfriend went to the gym, like in our complex, and on the way back, he was walking ahead of me like quite a bit. You can't even tell we were together. He was just dripping in sweat. He's walking fast and everything. And I was exhausted. I was exhausted. And um, so I was lagging behind, but he hadn't even looked back to see if I was back there.
Oh
You know,
wow.
he just went upstairs and whatever. So when I got upstairs, now I could have made a big deal. I could have
Hmm.
been like, how dare you leave me back there? And blah, blah, blah. But I said, that didn't make me feel good that you left me behind. And I know you didn't do it purposely. I know you weren't trying to hurt me or, do something to upset me. But I need you to know that it bothered me that you would leave me behind. And he was like, oh my God, I didn't even realize, because my adrenaline was pumping and I just wasn't even thinking. And he was like, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize. And I was like,
Yeah.
it's okay. I know you didn't do it on purpose. I just wanted you to be aware. And that was it. There was no
And
argument.
that's so pop, and that's some place that I need to get is because I think a lot of times when people argue, they go into thinking that their feelings on what caused the argument was the
Mm-hmm.
intent of the other person. And the
Mm-hmm.
fact that you were able with your boyfriend to realize, this is how I felt. I know that wasn't your intent, but this is how I felt.
Right.
Is important. That's great communication. A lot of people can't communicate that way. They get so caught up in their feelings that they then think that, oh, because you made me feel this way, that had to be your intent. And now I'm even more mad. And so,
Right. I had this conversation with my homegirls over the weekend, this past weekend, and we actually got into like a heated debate. And like how I am right now, being compassionate is new. This
mhm,
is a part of my evolving. And we really don't argue. And I hate to say that, like, it's like this unicorn relationship. I really don't. And it's because, like, if you're a part of my life, whether that's you're my friend, family, whatever, I love you. And I can't unlove you because you do things I don't like. And when I lead with compassion, like I said earlier, leading with, I know you didn't mean that. Like, I know you weren't trying to upset me or hurt me, but this is the result of your action. It made me feel like that. And allow that person an opportunity to say something. Or maybe he was like, actually, I walked ahead of you because you was pissing me off. It
Yeah.
still allows room to say, this is why. Instead of, because the moment you go, well, you're the defense.
Yeah.
Anybody. Because you're changing your tone with me, you're yelling at me, and you're belittling me, and and you're only going on your emotions, which are fickle. Your emotions may be up and down. So I feel like when you lead with compassion and just kind of come to people like, I love you, and I know this wasn't your intent,
Yeah.
and that allows them to kind of not be on the defense. Like, okay, she know I'm not trying to fuck her over, she's upset. Now you're not arguing with how I'm upset with you, you've gotten right to why I was upset.
Okay.
And so it does both things. It does two things. Yeah.
So you've just taught me something. I'm like you giving me mini therapy right now. So I'm writing that down. Thank you for that. I know I've turned this into me trying to gain
I'm
understanding, and we kind of
here,
got off of
man.
it.
I'm here.
But as far as like to get back with the love languages,
Mhm.
I don't understand mine. I'm just gonna be 100% honest and transparent. Because
Okay.
like me looking at the list, I always say I don't like. I feel like because I was asked this on another podcast. I honestly feel like my love language is space, and by that,
Hmm.
wait, let me explain. Because anytime
Okay.
I say that, people make that face, and then so I don't mean space away from you. I mean give me the space to be me. Give me the space to be human. Give me
Mm.
the space to make mistakes. Give me the space to be flawed. Give me the space to sometimes just say, look, I effed up. Give me that space.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, in you understanding, hey, he's trying to work through it. That's
Mm-hmm.
love to me because it's difficult to step back and give someone the space to be those things sometimes. When I'm given that, to me, that's love. So
I'm gonna ask you a question. Why do you need space to be yourself?
maybe that's the better question is why do I need space to be myself?
Because if you can't be you close,
Hmm.
and you feel like separation is going to make people be closer and give you more understanding, then you're already losing. You understand? Like, so in your case, I would kind of just say, figure out what it is that you need, necessities.
Okay.
Um, the wants and the likes, they come and go. You know what I'm saying? We're humans. We're forever wanting. You always want some shit.
Yeah.
But if you figure out the necessities, the have to haves, like I have to have X amount of time. I in my past relationship or some niggas ago, um, I remember telling him that I don't like to be talked to right after I come from work. Right? As soon as I come in, it's like, oh, and then I'm like, you have no idea what I've been dealing with all day, and I just need a decompression moment. So after this hour is over, we're gonna get right into it. And he didn't like it. He didn't like it because I want to know how your day was, and I want to, and it was a real challenge at the time because he was one not used to a woman like I don't need that much.
Hmm.
I don't require that much. And also on the other end of that, it was, oh, well, if you don't want to talk to me for an hour, I don't want to talk to you for an
See, that's
hour.
petty. I hate that.
This is what I'm saying. There's
Yeah.
no understanding, and I didn't understand really why I needed that hour, and that's why I'm telling you that, because I
Okay.
didn't need it over time. Like, I don't need it now. Like, the nigga could come home right now, and I'll be at the door like, let me tell you this shit.
Okay.
I'm the one being overbearing, but until he tells me that ain't it, I'm gonna keep doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I know that I created that I need a 1 hour, little reprieve after work because I was living in my head and taking work home with me and thinking about what I got to do the next day. And oh, I've been dealing with this supervisor and my coworker and just stupid shit that doesn't matter. And I made someone go so far away from me
Hmm.
just so I can deal with shit I left, just so I can mentally grapple with, okay, I actually am home now. Now I can take off the work and I can take off the this. And it just wasn't fair to that person. It wasn't until years passed and I was like, okay, that was probably shitty.
Yeah.
But growing pains, you don't know your love language, and that's what I'm saying. A lot of that comes from just not knowing yourself. So yeah, there are parts of you that you probably don't want people touching. Like I read a book and they refer to it as thorns, and everybody has it. And when you get too close, when people get too close to your thorns, you warn them.
Yeah.
You know what? Don't say this shit because you're gonna set me off. Don't do this. Don't talk to me this way. You set all these rules so you can everybody can avoid your thorns.
Yeah.
Set all these rules. And then instead of just removing the thorn, you keep adjusting life and making people adjust to you. And it's crazy. You
Yeah.
don't even think maybe I should just remove the thorn and then people won't be touching it and I won't be hurt every time people do this. We just build new ways to have people stay away from our thorns. So I think with the love language, it's going into the ugly places, being alone with yourself with no distractions, really figuring out like who you are, what you want. So when you get to someone, they either gonna feel that criteria or they're not.
Yeah.
And I feel like the more we do that, the better this. It sounds corny and cheesy, but the better this world is gonna be because you have individual people that know exactly where they stand.
Yeah.
We don't have enough of it.
Look at you coming in and psychoanalyzing me. All no, I'm just playing. Like, yeah. Nah, that was that
Man, I
was
read
that was a
books.
bar. I know.
I
I
read books.
I know. I know. I already know. Anything left on love languages? Anything else that you want to speak about?
Nope, I said everything. My throat hurt.
Well, the next topic that we got, this one is I kind of threw it on here because of a post that I saw, and someone mentioned how monogamy is not natural and said that we're all meant to be polyamorous, and that just threw me for a loop. But then I started thinking about it deeper and how I like wanted to refine the thought to talk about it here. And so the way that I kind of came to it, and we can talk about it and however it works out. But should
Yeah.
people start embracing the idea of polyamorous relationships to avoid the temptation of cheating? What do you think about that?
No,
Yeah, thank you.
because people cheat. And even, look, people fuck up all the
Yeah,
time in whatever situations because people are gonna people. And trying to play these little games to prevent people from cheating, like you can't avoid that. If
yeah,
that's your intent, you're gonna do it. And getting in a polyamorous or any other amorous, it's not gonna make a difference. I don't feel like, and I feel like when people kind of make that claim that it's probably better to get into one of those type of relationships, so you know what's going on and there's a sense of transparency and blah 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 blah, and that it's not normal to or natural to be with one person. And like particularly I have a problem with black men that do that. When black men say, oh well, you know, because this is how it was in the motherland. It's
oh
like,
my god, the
stop.
hoteps, I hate that.
Because you know how much shit that came from the motherland that you don't agree with and that you won't do right now,
Hmm.
but you only selectively do it when it's about sex and women. But when it's about all of the other cultures, all of the other rules, or all of the other lifestyles, you're not with that. Cherry picking what you want to fit you, the same way people do the Bible sometimes.
Hmm.
Cherry picking what you want is not going to make the situation better. It's just people cheat. I don't know how to say that. What do you
Yeah,
think?
no, I agree with you. I think that like people are, especially younger people, I feel like, and I don't mean to ageism anybody, but I feel like now it's becoming the thing where it's like cool to be in open relationships, and it's like really people do it to avoid being hurt, or people do it to avoid hurting someone, and really you're not being true with yourself. You're not
Right.
being honest with what the actual problem is, and because of that, ends up turning into something else later down the road. Like I feel like it's a band aid. Like for some people, it works. I don't want to like completely shit on the idea whatever floats people's boats. For some people, living that life truly works for them. But I feel like more so than anything else now, a lot of people are just adapting that type of lifestyle to either they're hurt over being cheated on in the past, They fear being cheated on just in general. They saw their parents cheat on each other or something like that, and they go into that poly thing, and it's like it's not going to work for you, sis. It's not going to work.
Did you catch the interview with Jadena on The Breakfast Club?
I did not.
Check it out, because he was talking about being a part of a relationship. I'm not sure if it's polyamory or polygamy. I'm not sure, but he was basically saying where his woman had someone else and he had someone else, but it was hurting him. Like
Mhm.
it was so painful for him to even know that she's sharing her body, her life, her love, whatever, with this. Like they were the main couple, him and her, but outside of each other, they had these other relationships that everyone knew about. And he was just saying that and Charlemagne, of course, is like,
Yeah.
oh man, how you gonna allow that, man? And I wouldn't be with that and all that other crazy shit because um we are sold the idea that women's promiscuity is bad. Women having sex with more than one person is bad. Um, so when men do it, it's like, oh, okay, some men do, and that's from the motherland. And they had a bunch of wives and whatever.
Mm,
When women do it, she is faulty. She's wrong. She's bad. Something is wrong there, and a man shouldn't tolerate it.
yeah.
And it's just strange how we see that. And in this case, he absolutely cared. He was saying, like, I was broken. I was hurting so bad. I have so many tattoos, but none of it compares to the pain that I felt just knowing she was with somebody else. And he did that for a couple years, you know? and and that's like just knowing that he felt that kind of pain, but because of whatever he may have felt or connection he had with that person, he
Mm.
was willing to endure it. He was willing to
That's
just,
just wild. And the fact that he
okay.
was open enough to admit that, because a lot of people wouldn't even admit that they felt that pain.
Men don't
Like
even like to admit they got cheated on. So let's start there.
that is that is a fact. That is a
They
fact.
just say she a hoe. Yeah.
So yeah, I got to see that interview now. I'm probably gonna go watch it as soon
Yeah,
as we're done
check
with
it
this. I
out.
have to
It's
see it.
really good. Pretty good.
All right. I love Jadena is he's I love hearing him talk. He's a very eloquent person.
When he came out with Classic Man, I was like, this nigga right here is onto something.
Yeah.
I was like, I like this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we are going to get into our break, and when we're going to come back, we're going to do what you guys expect from Love Lesson Badass Soul, and that's going to be we're going to answer some listener emails. So, all
All right.
right, you need water or anything? You good?
I'm a professional.
Well, I know this. I know this.
No, I'm good though.
All right.
So are you paused right now? Or
Yeah.
okay. So do you read the questions and we both answer? Do I read one? You read, like, how does it work? Do you paraphrase?
It's if they're super long, then yes, we'll paraphrase. These aren't too long, so I don't mind reading the full ones, and we can alternate if you're cool with that.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, cool. You want to do the first one or the second one?
Um First number two. First
Yeah.
number.
You do the first one. All right.
Yeah.
I'll intro us back. All right, so we are back from break, and we are going to dive into these emails. Miss Tanya D is gonna read off the first one, so go ahead.
Ooh. All right. So the first listener question, I'm not sure who it came from, but I'll go ahead and read this. Like this last panel episode, tons of gems dropped, but I have a burning question. Keep in mind that it's been expressed that ability to be vulnerable around a woman, I'm sorry, is the criteria for making her the down chick. Hmm. What are the characteristics that make men walk away from her? Women are more so programmed to stay in situations because of things they've gone through with an individual. But I see more often that men are not programmed that way. What gives men the push to just walk away? I was just talking about this.
Mm.
The push to just walk away, especially when the woman is not particularly confrontational or harming him emotionally or physically. Thanks, Mercy. Whoo,
Whew.
child, that was a lot of questions.
Yes, that was. So just to kind of give you, like, in the last episode, we had a discussion panel on like when being the down ass chick goes wrong for women,
Oh, child.
or being the safe place for a man, but not having that safe place for yourself as a woman comes into play. So that's where this question comes from.
Okay.
Um, what gives them the ability to walk away from? Uh, listen, we be fucking up. That's what I'm gonna say.
Ability? Like he's incapable of doing it? Like what do you go ahead. I have
No,
thoughts.
I mean, it's just what gives men the push to just walk away. I think that ultimately, um, like, I don't know if it's the idea, and I've said something about this before. I feel like women's love, a man judges a woman's love sometimes by how much bullshit they're willing to put up with. And that's would be like, you've put up with XYZ, so I know you love me, and it's stupid. Um, but men, on the other hand, I feel like I don't know if we're judged that same way. And I just think that we don't have that same mindset. A lot of times men will get caught up in, oh, well, Tanya down the street has a big ass, or oh, Ashley over, like, and that they'll get distracted by that and think the grass is greener just because of things that really don't matter like that. Like,
Yeah.
it says nothing about what they do for your mental health. Nothing about, men just really don't. Sometimes don't think about that. I don't know if I answered the question. I feel like I may have talked a little bit around it, but that's just kind of where my mind went.
um I guess the way that the question is framed is interesting too, because they're basically explaining like, okay, when women, okay, like you said, a lot of times women's value is dependent on what we can endure and for how long. You see those posts on Instagram, which are so fucking embarrassing. When a guy's like, oh, we've been through our ups and downs, cheating. We've
Yeah.
been through our ups and downs. And I'd be like, nigga, you're the down. Like, what are you talking about? We've been through our ups and downs, but she's always been here for me. You know, she paid my rent when I ain't have it, and she a whole list of shit that she has done to support him. And men really see that as like, oh shit, she's like a down ass bitch. Like she really stuck it out with me. And that comes from the way that women our relationship has been to men. It's always been to the aid of.
Okay.
Women are treated as the accessory and not the addition to life. If men treated women like life, like they do their mother, any woman in their life, they see them as life. Boys feel very, very special about their grandmas, like specifically. So
Yeah.
I know you're capable of loving that way. And you don't need grandma to be a down ass bitch. You don't need your mom to be a down ass bitch. But when it comes to a woman that you lay with, suddenly the stakes have gone through the roof and you need to
Exactly.
tolerate XYZ. But I think a lot of that comes from what our mothers endured and what our mother teach us. Like my mother is a very independent, like, yeah, but she almost said verbatim, like, don't be with a man that's not gonna do nothing for you. And I'm like, true, true, because I don't want no broke ass man. But also, I'm not trying to get a man to provide. I'm not trying to get, because there was a time where a woman couldn't even buy a house without a husband. If she walked into a realtor, he was like, where's your husband?
Yeah.
I can't even sell you a house. So the fact that women couldn't be independent, they had to endure. They had to live stability. That's why grandma knew about the other family across town being a down ass grandma at the time. and and she stayed. And it's only when you get old and you like, grandma, why did you know what I'm saying? And a lot
Yeah.
of times they weren't in love. It was circumstantial. It was like, okay, I met you for 2 weeks and my daddy not gonna let you hunch me without you marrying me.
Yeah.
You have to marry me and we have to get a house. And so a lot of women were being that down ass chick out of necessity. And so now we're in a different space. So you have women who are being educated like out of this world. You have them in great careers. A lot of them are making more money than men, but the mentality hasn't changed for a lot of women. It's still like, well, I still have to endure
Yeah.
because that's kind of, and even the way that older women talk, like, oh, men just gonna be men. You're giving them a pass
Yeah.
for their behavior, and then your value is how long you can stay there.
Wow.
And so now that's why it's easy for a man to walk away, because we don't put those standards on men, and men don't need us that way. They need us, but they don't know how they need us. So when women play into it with a man, meaning you get into a situation, you know that it may not be good for you or your kids or whatever, and women stay, you're inherently telling the man, this is what I'm willing to endure to keep you.
Wow.
And I mean, that's why men don't walk away. Because I mean, that's why it's easier for a man to walk away, because he don't have to be a down ass bitch. It's really as simple as that. He can just go be with somebody else, and she will do the same thing you did.
Yeah.
You think,
Damn.
okay, I'm domesticated and I don't be out in the club and I'm a homebody, and you have women who will shit on other women. I don't wear clothes like that, and Aisha Curry, okay?
Yeah.
Same thing. Not to say that he was doing anything to her, but the way that she was like, look, I'm a good wife and I love my man and I do this and I don't wear that, and and shaming women that do. And that doesn't help either. But I feel like men can walk away from things that don't really hold them down. So I mean, that's that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the whole concept of the Rolling Stone, and like you mentioned families down the street, like I, I wonder how much of that is like, I don't want to say genetic memory because that kind of takes away the onus over. But seriously, it's just like we do have the mindset of, oh, okay, I'll find somebody else. And that's not
Right.
cool.
Even if he loves her to death,
Yeah.
men don't do things because they hate women. They don't hate the woman that they're with. They just make poor fucking decisions. It's not like I'm gonna, have sex with this woman behind this dumpster because I hate her so much. No, I'm doing it because I'm impulsive. I can't control myself. All of these other reasons. But when it happens to us, we're like, something's wrong with us.
Yeah.
We're broken. We always bring it back to us. Something's wrong with me. And it's just, I wish more women thought this way so that they can also leave situations that don't help them either. Like, you should be able to walk the hell away the same way that he does.
There you go. Well, that one's done. We're gonna put a pin in that. That one's done. The fork's in that one. We're gonna get into the last one, and this is the last one for today. Well, the next one, and this is the last one for today. So this email, the title was it, which way do I go? So it's I've been in a relationship with my first girlfriend for years. And out of those years, we've never had any major problems till now. She cheated on me with a girl at her job, and I don't think she's over her, but she says she is. She says she wants to be with me, but there's some issues that she has to deal with after 6 years. I think she's just over us. My trust is fucked up, and I want my relationship to work. Everybody goes through problems, but what should I do? She also listens to the podcast. Octavia.
Octavia, girl, I see what you're doing.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
see what you're doing.
yeah.
Okay.
It's great. It's she's smart. She knew what she was doing. Very very strategic. Um, but I think that you have to trust where people tell you they are. If she says it's something she has to deal with and work through, you need to give her the space to work through it and try to help her, especially if it's something that you feel like you guys can mend over. But you have to have that conversation, at least I feel like, with her, to make sure that this is something that she wants. Is this relationship still something that she wants, considering where she goes through? And be okay. Well, it's easy to say to be okay, but you have to, if she says, after all this, I may want to just be alone, you have to learn to find your peace with that, because she's telling you what she wants. At least at that point, she's not stringing you along. That's where my mind is with it.
I feel like you're giving her too much emotional support in this
Mm,
case, because I feel like she violated you, and you trying to figure out where your emotions lie and trying to make her fit back into your heart is strange,
yeah.
because you're putting someone else's happiness before yours. Like, what do you I want my relationship, and I understand that you love people and people fuck up. Like I said, like, people cheat and people do things, but again, it's not because I hate you, so I'm going to cheat on you. That's never really the case. Um, it's funny. I'm not funny, haha, but funny that it was from somebody from her job, because we were just talking about sex at the job, at the workplace.
It
And I
all
was like,
comes
oh, maybe
together.
she was a part of the 12%.
Yeah.
But I feel like, see how you feel about the violation. Like, take out what she wants to do and this person and how she feels, and if she's over, how do you feel about this person that betrayed you? From their character and behavior prior to that, have they shown you any signs that this is just a habitual thing they will do? And to me, this is very like convoluted, and I know it is, but I'm gonna say it anyway. It's like, yes, there are people that won't cheat on you, absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
but more time than not, especially with young people, it be an issue. It's an issue. And when somebody violates you in that way, it's not the actual cheating, almost, you know what I mean? Yes, it's the physicality, but it's the, you mean to tell me when I was trying to call you, you was with this person. When you say you were staying late, you were with this person. It's all of this deception and lies that come with the cheating that makes it 10 times worse. Because now you're like, okay, so wait. So when I wanted to treat you to dinner, you told me you already ate. It's because you and your coworker went off to go get something to eat and do whatever. You know what I'm saying? And you really have to figure out how you feel about that. And I understand that this is a long-term relationship or whatever the case is, but it's like, you really have to figure out how you feel about being violated. And then once you figure that out, people can be very remorseful. You can give a person a chance. And I feel like, honestly, outside of like smashing a family member or like a close friend, I do feel like there's room for redemption. I'm not saying please cheat on me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying I know that people aren't perfect. And I know that if I put these expectations on you and you let me down, my world will fall apart. And I don't live like that. You don't get to have that much power to make my world fall apart. I will be hurting. It will hurt me. I might not like it, but I'm not going to fall apart because I didn't make you superhuman. Because I love you. You're not this all perfect, all knowing, you know? And so when we take these people off those pedestals, when they do fuck up, it allows us to be a little bit more compassionate. So then you're talking from a completely different space. You know what I mean? I do believe people deserve the chance to redeem themselves outside of like messing with children or hurting dogs or things
Yeah.
like that. I feel like, or rape, of course, like that's the most heinous shit you could do. Outside of those things, I feel like people deserve redemption, and people can change. And he or she may never do that again. But do you feel like it's worth giving a chance to? Because you're writing this, and this may have been the third time,
Yeah.
you know? So it really depends on, do you feel like they deserve redemption, and how do you feel about being violated?
You just got all the gems this week.
It's
No, but
it's only stuff that, and it's like, I don't like to be preachy, because I talk about this on my podcast too. Like, sometimes I don't like to be preachy, but the more that I learn and the more that I evolve, I'm so full of love and joy and understanding that I
mm,
can give it away for free and it means nothing to me. I could put all this shit in a book and sell it to somebody, but right now I'm in a space where if I see that you need it, I'm going to tell you.
mm,
And you do what you want to do with that, because that's, I just want to be in the business of service. I just want to be able to say one thing that made you go, that's it. Then I won and I'm good. I just want people to think a little bit more and not be so wrapped up in the emotion of how you feel and what's happening to you, and take yourself out of it and think about things logically. You know, and I know it's a little difficult. I know that people say women aren't that logical, and we're more emotional and so and so. And I believe that to a degree.
okay.
But I feel like a lot of times when, like, you wouldn't even be writing in if you knew these questions that I just asked.
That is true.
If you knew how you felt about being violated, if you knew that person deserved redemption, um, then you would have done it. Then you would have done it. There is no thinking, there is no trying. You would just do it. Because everything else you want to do, you do. But when it comes to matters of the heart, we get real scary.
Yeah.
And you go to asking people, and I want your opinion and give me this advice. And you know what you need to do. You just don't want to. So there's that.
There's that. Well, there's that. That's the episode. That is it. We ran through it.
That's a wrap on that.
Great first episode, and like I said, I appreciate you coming through. It was great as we keep our chemistry builds. It's just gonna get better and better because I'm gonna start learning little jokes I can make to make your eye twitch. That's just what I aim for. So
I am very childish. I don't know. Like people who listen to my show, they know. I mean,
okay.
I talk all this good thing, but I'm very, very childish. So
Well,
yeah.
there you go. You got to stay young. So before we go, tell the people where they can find you and all that good stuff, and then I guess we'll go.
Oh, hit me up on the Twitter machine at I am Queen T. I am QWEENTEE. I know you want to spell Queen the traditional way, but it ain't because of me. So same thing on Instagram. Don't be creepy, and don't like more than 4 pictures because I don't know what you want from me.
There you go. And you
Mhm.
can follow me at CEO Haize. That's at CEOHAIZE. We're actually be creating new Twitter and Instagram for the podcast going forward.
Hey,
So we haven't had that.
wait,
Go ahead.
because another page followed me on Instagram
Uh-huh.
of yours.
Oh man, you saw that mess today? Listen,
You want
that
some?
was the that was the craziest way to start the day.
I was like, I thought we were already following each other, but maybe not. So,
Listen, that was the weirdest thing. Like, and people are commenting like, "Oh, well, you've made it now." I don't want to make it if that's the case. I really don't. It's
right?
good.
Safe
I'm cool
pages.
on that. I don't need that. Yeah, and it's so weird because they like literally follow like people that like family, people that know me. So of course they're like, something's not right here. I'm like, come on
Mm.
now.
I thought it was a little strange, so I didn't even interact with it. I was like, that's strange, and I just keep it moving. You know what I mean? But it just made me laugh. Come to find out, it was just some random.
Yeah, people are so weird. People are really strange.
True.
Well, again, we'll be making new social media for the podcast itself, but that's it. This has been another episode of the best podcast, the best adult podcast around. Which is, I'm going to drop that because it's not. It's more than that now. We're evolving, so we'll come up with a new
Okay.
catchphrase. So there you go. Well, that's it. People, follow us, like us, share, subscribe, leave a comment and review, and let us know how you feel about the new direction. But we're out. Peace.
Peace.
That was a great first run.